So, one of the first questions we'll ask in this section is, what is a graphic novel? In the traditional classroom, when I ask this question, if I have 18 students and ask the class, who's read a graphic novel before, or do you read comic books? Usually only 2 students will have read a graphic novel or read comic books. Even in a large class of 48, just a couple hands are raised. And so perhaps you're wondering right now, how did a nerd take over our class right now? Why are we talking about comic books? But that is the subject of our discussion for our class session. So here we have this question, what is a graphic novel? On the one hand, it sounds like a fancy term. It sounds like a fancy way to say comic books. And if you take a look at our lecture notes, the first definition we have of a graphic novel is a reference to its format. The format of a graphic novel is that it's a bound collection of individual comic books. So, for example, since I do like to go to the comic book store, and if you like comics, find a good store. I find a good comic book store that's kid-friendly, that has a kids section, that's good for the whole family, and has a good selection. And so the comic book store I went to, I was following the Batman and Robin series for a while. And comic books, if you're unfamiliar with them, they traditionally come out once a month. So if you follow a series, for a while I was following this Batman and Robin series written by Grant Morrison, and each issue came out once a month. So I have issue 7 here, 8, 9, 10 as they came off the shelf. Now, after a number of individual comic books have been released, then they're bound and collected into what we call the graphic novel format, an actual bound version of all of those individual comics. This one right here is called Batman: The Long Halloween, and basically what DC did is for 1 year they had a murder mystery, a Batman murder mystery, and each month Batman as a detective would try to determine how or who committed this crime, and it went for 1 year. Each month, Batman would ask, did the Penguin do it? Did the Joker do it? And at the end of 1 year, so that actually ended on Halloween, Batman solves the crime. Now, some people bought that off the shelf one at a time. For me, I didn't follow the series when it came out, but I bought the graphic novel version, which is basically the 12 individual comic books bound into this format. So that's one way of thinking about what the graphic novel form is.